So some of my absolute favorite rulers is, this is one of my all-time faves. It's the Inca Rules, and I got it from Tallis Books, Tallis Online. It's a store actually here in Brooklyn, but you can get them online, and I love it because it's stainless steel. It doesn't get rusty. It's pretty flexible, which is kind of nice when you're maneuvering it, but it's center ruled. So there's a 0 in the center. So that I'm terrible at math, and I don't really have to use math when I'm doing a lot of like weird little measurements. I can go the center, and then I can go how many, whatever. I can always find the center no matter what, which is useful in the type of drawings that I do. I love it. It's a little bent on the corner, but for the most part, it's in good shape, and it's one of my faves. This is a good little, I generally like to have ones, it doesn't matter as much anymore, but have a steel edge so that when you're cutting, the blade slides along the steel, because I cut a lot of leather and paper and board. It's a nice little one. And generally I like to have them see-through so that you can see, like, let's say there's a line here. You can see, behind it all the time. Along those, I have a bunch of others. These are all very similar. They're all pretty crappy. They used to make them a lot better, but it's hard to find them. These are all in inches. These are see-through. This is pretty much the same. It looks like it's a different brand, but I think they just use the same ones and sort of rebrand them. Like you can see, this is the same ruler, just with a different brand. This is another see-through. They used to make Alvin and see-through. Maybe they were the same company. I'm not sure. They used to make good stuff. There's a triangle version, which is nice because there's a grid. So again, if you want to go do parallel lines, and then you can line that up again with the same. It was the wrong one. There you go. So yeah, that's kind of nice. It's I think a 30, 60, 90 degree angle. Then what else do I have here? I have a ton of rulers. This is a French curve. It's kind of in the ruler category, where when you're doing curvy stuff and you want it to be like, I'm guessing this is how it's used. This is how I use it. There's probably a real reason for this, but it like gives you very pleasing to the eye shape. So if you're like kind of hand drawing a curve, you can kind of find an area on here, that area that matches it, and then use that to like smooth it out. There's all different sorts of edges you can use. There's different sizes of these too. I use that sometimes, not that often. I just recently bought these Japanese rulers, one from Muji and one from Kinokuniya. I think it's probably mispronouncing. It's a bookstore here in New York. It's a Japanese bookstore. And I like these because of the grid. It's a see-through grid that they have on both. What I don't like is the edge doesn't come to a point, so it's hard to see when you're using mechanical pencil exactly precisely where the pencil's going to be. It's a little easier to use one of these see-throughs for that because the edge goes down further and you can see closer to the paper. But these are kind of nice. There are in centimeters too, which is interesting. Unlike the see-throughs, versus centimeters versus inches, which can be nice if you want to do, say, draw a pattern somewhat different from 1/8 or 16ths of inches. That can set it off a little bit, which is nice. I make my own sometimes. This is for some isometric project that I had. I don't remember. It was a large drawing that. Then you can line this up and you'll always have, I don't remember how I used this, but it was just a piece of plexiglass that I scored and cut, and then sanded the edges so it's really smooth. It's kind of nice. It feels nice to hold, so I'm hanging on to it. There's a whole category of rolling rulers that I use. sometimes. And you know, these are a little bit fancier. These are the simple shitty ones. They're like $8 or $9. I like these better than all the others. They roll freer than the others. This one you can actually unscrew this and put, like, this was the original. I don't know why I had this one on here. I don't really use this much anymore. But anyway, that's kind of cool. And then there's the, this one locks in place, but it's such crappy plastic and it kind of clicks around. It's like, what? It's so easy when you're using this. If you want to make parallel lines, the clickiness and the difficulty you get in, like, you can see how these are already not parallel, as opposed to how simple these are. They roll smoothly, so you're more likely to keep your line parallel without accidentally shifting it. This one I added a little handle because I had some extra weird moldable plastic. I don't really use it. But anyway, I like these cheap little Alvin Chinese rulers the best for some of my isometric stuff that I draw. This is a weird one. This is, I don't know if you've ever seen this in an art supply store and wondered what it is. I'm guessing, because I'd never learned, but I just sort of figure. When you're drawing, let's say you drew like a curve and you want to repeat that curve in another area, you would mold it to the shape of the drawing. Let's say this was it, and then you can have that same shape elsewhere. It kind of, there's like a piece of, I don't know, steel or aluminum inside that will hold its shape, more or less. It's kind of cool. I got this bad boy when I was in middle school. I convinced my mom that I needed to go to the art supply store because I want to be an architect, so I need art supplies. And she was kind enough to get that for me. I have a bunch of these really heavy steel ones. This is just basically a hardware store ruler, which is helpful sometimes when cutting bookboard at 90-degree angles. The problem with this is when you're using it on paper, it's steel and it's a little rusty, so it can mark up the paper. So you have to be careful with that. I use, this is a Japanese engineering ruler, which is pretty cool. And it's got a nice cutting edge, but it actually doesn't work that well because, I don't know, maybe it's the knife that I use, because this is, the aluminum goes so high up, and I guess you just have to use it a certain way. Some of the rubber backing has come off. They use rubber backing so that when you put it on the paper, it doesn't shift around like when you use one of these rulers. It moves around, even though it has this doesn't, but it has like a steel edge. It can move around really easily, and these rubber-backed rulers don't. This is my favorite ruler for cutting. It's got a thin strip of thick rubber. It's so old that it's probably getting dried out. This was originally sold through Alvin. You can see it's just a sticker they put on. It was made in Italy. And I had a smaller version of this. This one is 36 inches. I love it. It's my go-to ruler for cutting paper. The metal edge comes out further, so you're not gonna hit the aluminum. You're just gonna hit the steel. And it's awesome. It doesn't slip. The rubber catches the paper. It's been through a lot. I've had this for 25 years or so. I had a smaller one that I one time dropped behind a radiator, and I never found it again. I think it fell into some kind of weird portal or something. I do use T-squares once in a while, but you have to make sure these are really tight, not that often. If I am ever cutting, let's say, bookboard, and you want a nice right angle, I have this cool ruler that, like, it's got an edge to it, so that you just hold it along the edge, and then you can, and boom, you've got a nice 90-degree square line you can cut with. This is a weird sewing Notion store ruler for fabric and patterns that I thought would be cool until I realized how thick they put a white paint behind the red lines, which maybe is helpful for fabric, but is not helpful for precise drawing because you can't see exactly. You end up tilting it a little bit because you can't see the line behind it to square up. Do I have any more? Oh, and this is a really, I don't use this that much. This is a beautiful steel, tempered steel ruler by Starrett. And it goes by inches. And what I like about this one is it goes to the very end. It starts at the very end, which unfortunately I dropped once and it got a tiny ding. Unlike some of these rulers, some of them don't go to the edge, so you have to figure out, wait, is this the ruler where I have to start there for an inch, or do I have to go to the edge? And this one goes right to the edge, which is really nice. And I just, once in a while, I use compasses. This is a nice compass that you just remove the pencil lead and put a new one in, and if you want to sharpen it, you just rub it on the paper until it gets sharper or whatever. It's a little... What is this one? Picket? Yeah, you can get these often at yard sales, and nobody really uses these much anymore. You can get them for pretty cheap. And I think that's most of my rulers.